Hello, dreamers. This is Marco of Dreaming in Fashion. Welcome to another week of this podcast where we discuss all things fashion. So, first up on my list, we're going to talk about Vogue Forces of Fashion, and it's going to be October the 10th through the 11th. And they will have a lot of guests that will be there, people that will be speaking about the industry. But the one that I'm most proud of seeing is none other than Miss Bercalis, Cardi B. She will be joining the Forces of Fashion, and she will be speaking along with Virgil Abloh and Anna Wintour. Well, I just want to say, first of all, I'm really proud of what Cardi has been doing within, just in fashion alone. I know she's not doing it by herself, but she's the catalyst for everything. She's the person that's on the forefront where we see her, she's wearing the clothes and the great styles and different things like that. But however, there's Colin Carter, who's her stylist. He also may be her creative director. So, it's just good to see Cardi B, stepping into that type of role. I mean, I know that she loves fashion. She's a fashion girl. She has great style, like I said, and it's just going to be really interesting to see what she has to say in regards to, the fashion industry and what direction she see the industry going in and different things like that. Now, also, who will be on that panel or who will be speaking is Virgil Abloh. I've mentioned him plenty of times on like my Dreaming in Fashion website to some of you guys. If you haven't saw that, you can go to dreaminginfashion.com and you can see a couple of posts I've done about him and his aesthetic, his what his kind of clothing and who it's meant for and who his clientele is. I think that the off-white clientele is more for the millennials. I've mentioned that before. His LV collection, it's supposed to be a more luxe type of brand, but it still teeters the line of, for the millennials or those type of people. Tongue-tied here. Let me not say that. I think it's more for the more younger hip kids that's out right now. That's just my take on it. Now, the other person that's going to be speaking is none other than Mother Anna Wintour. Now, Anna Wintour will be speaking. It's going to be very interesting to hear what Anna has to say, since she's been the actual editor-in-chief of Vogue for so many years. It'll be good to hear her perspective on how the industry, how you should run your business, branding, marketing, all those elements of what comes with running a magazine and being a creative or a creative director. But however, who I really wish I would have saw was none other than Uncle Andre Leon Talley. And I did not know until maybe like recently here that Andre Leon Talley was the person teaching Anna Wintour about fashion. Like he kind of studied, she kind of studied under him, in which I personally didn't know that at first. But that'll be great to see all of that up front and see how, what she has to say, what she's bringing to the table. She's also introducing her master's class. I don't know much about the class. I don't follow. I'm guessing the class will just teaching people about, running their own business and different things like that. So, like I said, Vogue Forces of Fashion, it'll be out in October. If you guys can attend in NYC, get your tickets. And, come back here and let me know how it is. All right. So speaking of new designers and fashion and different things like that, let's just move right along into this topic. There's a trend going on right now with younger designers in the industry where they're losing hope as becoming mainstream designers, not even mainstream designer, but just becoming successful in the fashion industry as a whole, because a lot of people expect designers to give them clothing for free, or they don't want to purchase clothing. They just use them for the style, like for their photo shoots and different things like that. The designer doesn't get credit. Some of the clothes sometimes are damaged or not returned. And I only know some of this because I've heard of stories from different people who are in the industry, who are designers and stylists, and I've had my own personal experiences with being just a designer and a creative, and letting people borrow stuff and different things like that, which I've never had a bad experience, thank God. I don't think, because I think it's due to I haven't had a lot of experience with lending out clothing so that people can borrow. So I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't experienced that personally. But I understand it, and I get it. And most of these young designers are like, I'm spending all of my money, rent money, bill money, all this type of money to create these looks, and people don't understand that these things cost money to create a garment, and it takes time. I mean, it takes a long time to create like these custom one-of-a-kind pieces, and then it's like, okay, you just want me to give this away, for free to you, or just lend this to you, or let you borrow this, and I don't get any type of credit, I don't get any type of monetary value for it. That, I mean, that's kind of wrong. And I don't advocate for anybody to do that to any designer or any creative for, their work. It's time, it's effort, it's money, it's blood, sweat, tears sometimes. It takes a lot of effort into creating these custom looks for people, and I don't think that people really understand that. Now, next up on my list here, we're just going to move right along and talk about Piers Moss's actual fashion show. And at his fashion show, he had a choir, in the background. The choir is singing and the models are walking. The choir, was loud, and just from my own point of view, it was kind of distracting. And I was like, okay, this is distracting. And I'm online, I'm looking at people's comments and different things like that. I've came across this one particular person. I won't name them, but I'm pretty sure they'll know who they are once I read their comment, and also if they're listening to this podcast. And so the person basically said that basically it was like, first thing I said was the choir was distracting me from viewing the fashion. So the suggestion to go to Vogue and just looked at the pics was given to them. And then they said, well, the more I flip through, the more his intent drawed me in. And then it said, okay, let me say it. It took me a minute to grasp Piers Moss for the things that I would find wearable. And then she said, I realized I need to slow down and get what he was doing. And basically she said it was purpose. So the Reebok gear symbol is blown out, but is paired with the blowout of the Sankofa bird. The West African Sankofa bird is always drawn with his head facing backwards. And then the concept reads that in order to know where you're going, you need to know where you've been. And then she said, most motherfuckers ain't gonna grasp that, but it's there on all the textiles in the warm-up suits, etc. Now, also she goes on further to say, but wait, he goes further in his textiles and blows out the image of Sister Rosetta Tharpe, the black godmother of rock and roll, and playing her guitar in her best live recording from the early 50s. And then she says, LOL. She said, oh, this is Black History Delight. The black hands playing the keys on the piano chained to the tambourine shows gospel music as linked through our role in history. And then she said, oh, this Negro, I love it. Now, I get what her point and what she's saying. That's the bigger picture. I didn't even look at it from that angle. Like I said, the choirs was just very distracting. Now, I don't know if this is the trend with fashion shows. I blame Kanye West. That's right. He started this whole choir thing, at these fashion shows. And, I've been seeing a couple of designers doing it. For one, I saw Marc Jacobs doing it. So I was like, wait a minute, is this a trend now where we have choirs at fashion shows? If I wanted to hear about the gospel and different things like that, I would go to church. Like, that's just my take on it. I don't think that choirs are meant to be at fashion shows. It's a lot going on. You know what I mean? That's just my take on it. All right, let's move on to the next topic here. Next topic here is Project Runway star Chris March passes away at age 56. I do remember when he was on Project Runway. He's done great things. He has styled Lady Gaga and Beyonce in some of his garments. I vaguely remember some of that. And heart goes out to him and his family. And it's just terrible. We're seeing a lot of people that were on that show passing away. It's really, really sad to see people in the industry pass away and different things like that. But moving on to something much lighter here, going on to Bishmir Camaraderie. He was on Project Runway. Bishmir Camaraderie is a designer who's from the DMV area. I've been following him for a while now, since 2008, 2009, and the guy is a dope designer. I love his work, and I just recently found out that he didn't even make it to the top 3 on Project Runway, and I was kind of sad because when I was looking at the images or the still shots of his work and compared to some of the other people, I was like, wait a minute. This guy is bringing something innovative, something new, something interesting to the runway. I can't believe he didn't make the top 3. But hey, that's neither here nor there. I'm sure just him being on the show as a whole has, got him more notoriety. More people is probably watching and checking for him now at this particular point, and which is great. You know what I mean? So if you guys haven't saw him, I'm sure you can Google this past season of Project Runway. I don't know his first name, so I don't know what he went by on the show because I haven't watched Project Runway in a really long time, and I didn't watch this season. I just kind of Googled and looked up like pictures and images, went to his personal Instagram page, but his name on Instagram is Bishmir Camaraderie. So if you guys could Google that, I'm pretty sure you'll come across his page and see him from Project Runway. Now, speaking of Runway, so initially I was going to talk about, I was just going to report that Rihanna was having her fashion show on yesterday, which was September the 20th, and I was just going to talk about the show. So now that I've watched the show, I will tell you this: Rihanna has set the bar really, really high for these designers that are out now. This is what I want to see at a fashion show. I don't want to see a choir. I want to see innovation. You know what I mean? So just to sum this all up here, so the guests had to place their phones like in locked cases to avoid any leaks or videos from the footage of the runway. Since it was going to be streamed on like Amazon Prime on the 20th, which was yesterday. So also the runway show was a secret runway show. So there was performances by Migos, Halsey, DJ Khaled, Fabulous, A$AP Ferg, Big Sean, and Rihanna herself. Some of the models included Gigi and Bella Hadid, Cara Delevingne, Joan Smalls, Slick Woods, Normani, Laverne Cox, 21 Savage, Paloma El Caesar, and Aquaria. Also, Isis King was on there as well, who I saw. Now, the choreographer for the show was Paris Gobel. I just want to say this: I've never seen so much magic on a runway. I mean, and there was so much movement on the runway, but you could still see the actual clothing. The dancers were in Savage Fenty. The models were in this. You could still see all of the clothing of what she wanted you to see without it being too distracting. It was actually perfect. I mean, I've seen past shows from Rihanna, but I think that this one was really, 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 really perfect. I loved all the movement. I liked the transitions. The clothing was sexy. It was very, very, very tastefully done. She had different models from all different backgrounds, from the LGBT community, trans women. Also, it's like she merged all these things into one: fashion, art, music, culture, races, diversity, sexual orientation. She merged it all in one, and it was beautifully done. At first, I was kind of thinking like, oh, how would this go with, you got a group like the Migos, okay, who caters to a completely different audience than someone like a Laverne Cox. Hey, I just didn't think that it would work, but it did, and it was magic on the runway, and I loved every second of it. So if you guys have not seen that particular show, if you have Amazon Prime, please go out and watch that show and get your fashion life, because I clearly did at like 3 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, you know, in my bed screaming, looking like, yes, yes, give me life. You better slay, you better work. Giving all the juice, you know, watching this show. So you guys make sure that you check that out. Go to Amazon Prime. Also, you women who likes to be sexy, even some of you fellas, I saw that she had some of those bedroom things for fellas on there. Oh, also she had Sean Combs. I think Diddy's son, the younger one, well, the one that's the model. He was in the show as well. I forgot to include that. You know, great show. If you guys, please make sure that you, if you have Amazon Prime, make sure that you go watch the show. Make sure that you're getting your sexy lingerie. There's more places that you can get lingerie from besides Victoria's Secret. Okay, I'll plug that there. And make sure that you're watching that show. Just go watch it. You know, it was a very good experience from just watching it. It was innovative. It made me want to do more as a fashion person and creative. All right, guys. Well, that concludes this actual episode for the week. Remember to listen to me on Spotify, you know, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, Google Podcasts, and also please, guys, make sure that you guys are commenting. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you're you're sharing my podcast. And until next time, keep dreaming, guys.